The information and opinions presented in this podcast series are based on research done at a particular point in time. The fields of medicine, surgery, psychology, etc. are constantly evolving as new studies and movements happen. Please take into account the year of any particular episode's publication, and as new information presents itself, we will do our best to release updated episodes on the topics. So you've decided to start transitioning. What happens with your name and gender marker on your ID? Welcome to the Trans Field Guide. My guests today are Rico and Sam from Tea Time with T-Boys. Can you guys start off by telling us a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, for sure. We are two trans guys that have a YouTube channel. We talk trans topics. We do product reviews. We do fun challenges. We do giveaways quite often. And we do have quite a presence on Instagram, too. That's where we mostly do our giveaways.
And you guys do give a lot of advice on getting a name and gender marker change. What are the steps for getting those done in Texas?
Yeah, so anytime anybody is interested in getting a name or gender marker change, the first thing that I'll do is I'll ask them where they're from. If they are in Texas, I ask them if they can specifically travel to Austin because Austin does have the easiest process. If not, I'll just try to give them the best info that I can. The first things that I ask for people to have before I'll even talk to them again, not to be a jerk about it, but just to kind of simplify the process is I ask them to get a letter from either a physician or a therapist, and that letter basically just needs to say that they've had irreversible changes, and those irreversible changes can either be from HRT or from surgery if they are not on HRT or don't want to be on HRT. It just has to say some kind of irreversible change to reflect your true gender before they will change the gender marker. That's the only thing that's really required in Austin for a gender marker change. The other thing that is required is a fingerprint card, and that's specifically for the name change portion of this. So those are typically the only two things that they require here in Austin. It's just one letter and your fingerprints to be done. Depending on where you're at, sometimes they will require two letters, whether that's one from a doctor or one from a therapist or two from doctors or two from therapists. It's really up to what they require. But universally, it's generally just letters and then making sure you have your fingerprints done. Some states will require like having surgeries, whether it's top surgery or bottom surgery or both, but not all of them do. But yeah, so I tell them to get those two things for me first. After they get those two things, then I will typically offer to go with them to the Travis County Law Library, and that's where I'll show them how to fill out a petition and the final order for the gender marker name change. If they can't afford the court cost fees, which are typically like $300 to $400 to get a name and gender marker change, most states, not just Texas, will have an affidavit available, which is a waiver for the court costs and fees, which will basically take care of all of the fees besides the copies of the final order. You still have to pay for those. Typically that's $4 a copy. So if you're getting like 4 or 5 copies, it's expected to spend about $20. But that's really the main thing.
You did mention in a couple of those steps some things that other states require. Are there any other differences between Texas and other states as far as that process goes?
No, those are the main things. It's just like some states are going to require you to have different changes that you've already undergone, like surgeries and stuff like that. Especially for the gender marker change, that's the main one. With name changes, it's pretty easy. Like in any state that you live in, chances are all you're going to need is your fingerprints done. Make sure your fingerprint card has like your social security number on it and that. The only other difference would be like if you have like criminal charges or any kind of misdemeanor or felony backgrounds or anything like that, you'll definitely need to have case numbers and information about your charges. It doesn't necessarily mean that you will not be able to get your name and gender marker changed. They just want to have that stuff on file just to kind of prove that you're not running from the law by getting your name and gender marker changed. But those are mainly the only differences. It's just like you have to look into what your state specifically requires, mainly for the gender marker change itself, because not all states are as easy to get that gender marker changed.
I've heard, still to this day, I've heard people in some states have to get on the newspaper and announce that.
Yeah, that's also true. It's basically they have to do like a birth announcement, which is kind of ridiculous, but basically they have to out themselves on the newspaper and basically be like, hi, I'm trans, I'm getting my name and gender marker changed. Like, I'm no longer so and so, I am now so and so, which is like super outdated and not safe at all, and really not okay. So I can't even imagine.
Is there anything that would actually cause a judge to just straight up say, no, I'm not going to grant you?
Typically not. I think that the only issues that might come up, like I said, if you have any criminal history, anything like that, just make sure you have all the information, because like I said, they just want to make sure you're not running from any debts that you might have, or any, if you're like running from the law, like if you have warrants out for your arrest, chances are you're not going to be able to get this done. But that's really the main thing, unless the judge is like not a nice guy and is not a nice person and doesn't want you to, because they're like transphobic or something. You shouldn't have any issues with getting it done. It just really just got to make sure you follow the steps to the T.
Yeah, definitely super important. We are not giving legal advice at all. We're only speaking for ourselves and our personal experiences in Travis County, specifically in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, we're definitely not legal representatives, which is something that I try to stress very highly with people, just because a lot of people are like, oh, so you're going to do this whole process for me, right? I'm like, nope, because I am just volunteering. Like, that is it.
Pretty sure that's illegal.
Yeah, I cannot know any information about you. Like, you have to do this all yourself. I'm just gonna like basically hold your hand for the process.
Yeah, honestly, that's mainly why Sam goes out for moral support. Some people don't want to do it alone. It's intimidating. They don't know what to do, and he gets to show people that it's an way easier process than you think. At least in Travis County.
At least in Travis County, yeah. I mean, I would say the times are changing and things are definitely getting easier all over for trans people. Like, it's definitely getting easier for just to make these happen. It's all about just making sure you follow everything to the letter. Like, whatever they require, just making sure you do not leave any room for chance. Like, that's the main thing. So make sure that some states might require that you get the letters from your doctor and your therapist notarized. Some states will not. So just making sure, like, maybe just go ahead and get it notarized if you're not uncertain if it needs to be notarized or not. Just making sure that that letter, it fits the model. Like, there you can get models offline of what the letter needs to say. So making sure that letter like follows that model, or just at least like mentions it hits all the bullet points essentially, just so that there's nothing that they can say that would like deter you from actually getting the changes done.
Do you think that for certain people they would be better off having a lawyer to kind of help walk them through this?
I don't think it's necessary at all. I think that's just going to be a waste of your money, to be honest. Like, the process is so much easier than people think, that I don't think that you need a lawyer for this process at all. The Travis County Law Library, actually, if you go before noon on weekdays, they actually have lawyers that will come sit in, and they will provide legal advice to you for free. So you just have to get there before noon, and they'll look over all your paperwork and ask you questions and help you answer questions as well if you do have any questions. So I would definitely say check into your local library, see if they offer that too. If you do want that extra advice and you don't have someone that can go with you that might know this process a little bit better, so use your resources. Honestly, there's plenty of free resources you can find to help you out with this process, that you don't need to shell out thousands of dollars, because essentially that's what's going to cost. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars just to get a lawyer to look it over, when in actuality you don't need to be paying for basically like anything.
Is there any other advice on the process that you feel would be useful for listeners?
I would say, just when you actually do get your name and gender marker changed, remember that the process doesn't end there. It is up to you. After you get that stuff, I think you have to wait 24 hours, but 24 hours later you can go to the DPS or DMV, whatever it is, and actually apply for that new driver's license. You can go apply for your social security card at the social security office. You can do your birth certificate online if you do not live in the same state. Just remember that, like, it is up to you from then on to actually get everything changed, whether that's your utilities or your email address or your bank account information. Like, it's up to you. Just remember, the process isn't done there. You have to keep going and get everything else done yourself too.
Right, exactly. With that said, no one knows you have this legal name and gender marker change unless you tell them. So you can keep your credit cards with your birth name if you wish, for whatever reason, but still get a new social security card, and all those different branches. And also, let's say you start out wanting to get your social security card before your driver's license for whatever reason, and it's way more complicated with social security. Don't be discouraged. Try DPS or DMV next time. For every person I've learned, it's a different experience. Sometimes it's like bad luck of the draw. You get like a really like not helpful person. Just try with the DMV first, get that driver's license, which will be easier to get social security in that way.
Yeah.
For me personally, the easiest was social. and it was harder for me with the DMV, but Sam, it was easier for the DMV.
Yeah, I walked in the DMV. I was out within 20 minutes. Like it's a very simple process. But Rico had to go back like 3 times, 4 times. Yeah. So it definitely really just kind of depends.
Yeah, I know with my experience just getting the name change, I was actually able to get all of it done here in Tarrant County all in the same day. I literally walked from the courthouse to the SSA and then drove over to the DPS and it was all done. I just spent the whole day sitting in line. Yeah.
That sucks.
But I was really lucky with my draw on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
Listeners, make sure to check out Tea Time with T-Boys channel on YouTube and follow them on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, and our Instagram handles and Facebook are both at Tea Time with T-Boys.
Yeah, it's all the same on every platform. Super easy.
Yes.
Like this episode? Tell someone about it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send an email to transfieldguide@gmail.com. Also be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with the latest episodes. Stay safe, and remember that I am proud of you.